What's going on there, guys? We back with another one, and today we got to talk about the Montgomery, Alabama brawl at the dock. And we know what all caused that, right? The security guard was telling them they had to move their boat because the patrol boat had to park there. They just need to move up just a little bit, but people feel entitled, and who are you to tell us N-word, get out the way type mentality, and it led into that brawl. We saw Aquaman come across the harbor and get up there and start doing work. We saw reinforcements come in, and we see it spill into a bunch of nastiness. Arrests still happening to the day. Mary Todd, the lady seen in the footage, was arrested yesterday, and we got a lot of celebrities reacting to what happened. I got a lot to say about this. Let's check it out.
All right, that was Tupac. So by now, I'm sure many of you or most of you have been made aware of what happened in Montgomery, Alabama on this weekend, where a man doing his job, telling people where they couldn't put their boats, was accosted by a bunch of people. Now, I got to tell you, the memes were hysterical. The compilations were funny. I think some of the nicknames, I think that I don't know that there's been anything from a social media perspective that has been that funny in a very long time. But I also can't recall a time when that many people from all walks of life, when that many people from all kinds of orientations, all kinds of educations, all kinds of political stripes, different perspectives, all agreed on one thing. And I see a collective pride. There was so much pride everywhere I went. I remember I initially was in Charlotte when this had happened. Then I'd flown through the airport, and arrived in New York, and everywhere I went, every single time I ran across a black person, invariably they would mention this thing. And it wasn't because somebody finally got their comeuppance. It wasn't because, you got to mete out some level of justice. It was because, I believe in my estimation, how many times have we watched someone on social media, or on the news, or, in other kinds of medias, watch someone get beaten or disrespected or called out of their name? And how many times have we said, you know what? I wish I was there when something like that happened. How many times have we got to sit idly by when something like that happened and only go, man, if I were there when that happened? Well, apparently a lot of people who felt like that were, especially to everybody. I mean, there were so many things, like the man throwing up his black cap. So apparently now we have an antidote to the MAGA red hat, is the black one. Apparently now we can make our own events, not a triathlon, but a try-me-athlon. The nicknames were hilarious, but there was a specific sense of pride that was palpable. It was palpable. It was proud. You were proud to watch people be everything that society has told us that we're not. Or they don't stick together, or they can't swim, or they turn the other way. This time, on this day, at that very moment, I think black people coalesced, saw something that was wrong, and did something about it. They didn't wait. They didn't see what was going on. They didn't go, well, maybe he bought it on himself. It ain't none of my business. I mind my own. None of that happened. People, when Alita Adams said, get here if you can, they did. And they came to the aid of someone. And it's interesting how silent the media is about it. It's interesting how, no one's making really. I remember this. I remember a couple of months ago, a young man choked another man to death on the subway train, held him by his neck for 15 minutes till he was dead. And that man was heralded as a hero. That man was singled out by political people, people running for president, governors, police officers, mayors. They said that a man who held another man by the neck till he was dead for 15 minutes was a good Samaritan. But what I saw the other day, what I saw this weekend, was all these people coming to the aid of a stranger and putting themselves in harm's way just to stop thugs from attacking a man just doing his job. And the narrative is abjectly silent. It's no one saying the types of things that they said when we watched a man choke another man to death. I don't think anything is more Good Samaritan-like than coming to the aid of someone you don't know against odds you haven't estimated, doing the thing that you know to be right. And they came and they put themselves in harm's way. And for that, we are thankful. And also, I think that they gave black people something that we haven't felt in a very long time, regardless of where we come from, who we believe, who we love, who we worship, how we vote. On this day, I think black people felt something that we haven't gotten a chance to feel collectively for a very long time. And that was a tremendous sense of pride. I only hope we continue to hold on to it. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.
So by now, I think everybody, especially everybody in the black community, has seen the video in Montgomery, Alabama, of the security guard who was jumped, and then you've seen some brothers come to his aid and even the score. You know, and I want to get this clear. None of us are celebrating the violence, right? It's not about the violence. It's not about somebody getting their ass whooped. Yes, ass was whooped, and rightfully so. But there's a level of unity today that I want us to maximize on, right? I don't want this just to be just a moment. I want this shit to turn into a movement. Because if we look at all of the things that's plaguing our community, the main thing that is stopping us from fixing it is unity, right? Community, right? Those things that are plaguing our community can be fixed by unity. And this moment in time shows us what unity looks like. It shows when people who didn't know you look and realize that their brother was in trouble and came to his aid. They didn't think about the consequences. They didn't think about repercussions. They thought that I have to protect one of mine. I have to protect my brother. I have to speak up. I have to stand up for my brother. Even the person who was holding the camera, although she didn't physically get involved in the altercation, but the way that she narrated it, the way that she spoke and told the boy to swim, young boy, get up and get involved, right? She spoke life into unity. She spoke the energy of our ancestors saying, fight back, right? I've often watched movies and you see that climatic point where something is something that you got to fight against, and is you versus the fear, and you overcoming that fear and saying, fuck that, I'm going to fight back. This is that climatic point in black history, right? I think this is one of those moments where we've seen what it looks like. And it touched us because we identified and said, that's what the fuck we supposed to be doing. So I want all of us to know that right now, don't make this shit just to no memes and no funny shit and all that. Enjoy it, but capitalize and maximize on this energy right now. See your brothers and figure out how do we build together. We're not tearing each other down. We're not fighting against each other. We're not shooting each other. We're not killing each other. We're not beefing over shit that don't make sense. Because we're all in the same struggle. We got too many people against us to be fighting each other. So right now, let's make this shit a movement. Let's be inspired by a 16-year-old boy who swam in the ocean to go save his brothers and went over there and put work in. Let's be inspired by 3 black men with no shirts who seen one of their brothers in distress and said, look, that ain't happening today. Let's be inspired by everybody that looked at that situation and said, we no longer going to be oppressed, so we're going to be victims. We're going to be victors. Salute you, kings. Move in your greatness, and let's capitalize today.
Now, Montgomery, Alabama, since I've been learning about civil rights, right, it always came down to there. You know, people were getting hung out there. People would it's like the last place in America to understand that all men and women are created equal, right? And so now when you do the knowledge of the place where that all took place, the fight where the one black man defended himself against 10 white people, that right there was a big port for slavery. Back in the days, that's where people were sold. That's where people lost everything they ever knew in their life, was stripped of everything right in that same spot. So it's ironic that 2023, motherfuckers ain't going for that. They just not, right? And you know I got as much white friends as I got as black and Latino, but what's fair is fair. The man was doing his civil duty. He was doing his job. He was security. And they chose to punch him in the face. The thing that I like the most, he reminds me of my man Black Dave, rest in peace. Because if you notice when they punched the guy in the face, he took the hat off and said, whoopee! Like, yo, this is what I do. But even the toughest guy got to fight 10 guys and a couple of women. It's crazy. Am I surprised? Maybe in Montgomery, Alabama, we're surprised that so many people jumped in. If it happened in New York, everybody would have jumped in too. But we gotta salute the guys and young ladies who jumped in and defended this man. These guys had no right to have their boat there. He was telling them nicely in every way. He's security. He said they didn't want to listen. It was too much privilege going on. And that's why they got their ass whoop out there. And I wasn't there. From where we look at the obvious, it looked racial. But I can't tell you what it was because I know a bunch of Puerto Ricans that, you know, you fight one brother, the 10 brothers jump in. And the aunts and the uncles, you got to fight the whole crew in the projects, right? So I wasn't there, yo, Yady. What's up, Yady? What's up, man? And so I wasn't there from that, but this is what we're talking about. If more people would have jumped in for George Floyd would be alive. And so that's the point. That's the point. This is what we were saying. You know, if you see something like this going on, you have no choice but to jump in or do something to disturb it to whatever the case may be.
Bitch, I wish I was in Alabama tonight, bitch. Bitch, I wish I was in Alabama tonight. Bitch, I wish I was in Alabama tonight. Yeah, the boy caught y'all fucking ass tonight. Y'all thought y'all gonna get out of the bitch. The boy was getting it, y'all fucking ass. Yeah, bitch. Yeah, who that nigga was sweating? That nigga was motherfucking sweating. That nigga was they gave it to y'all fucking ass tonight. Bitch, I was yeah. Yeah. The boys ain't bullshitting Alabama. They ain't bullshitting Alabama. Y'all would thought thinking they bullshitting Alabama. Y'all thought shit was sweet. Y'all thought it was sweet. Bitch, I wish I would do. Bitch, I wish I would do. I gave it to you. I gave it to you. They caught y'all fucking ass tonight. They caught y'all fucking ass tonight.
So yeah, man, Stephanie Mills is coming to Montgomery to do a benefit concert to raise money to get the brothers and sisters that's locked up out of jail. And I think that is awesome because they were only defending themselves and diffusing the situation. You know, that when you look up on the balcony, you saw other people of color that refused to come down. You had so many people getting their cell phones out watching this man get jumped on, and you know, something could have happened to him where he lost his life in that little bit of time. And you didn't see any call to action until you started seeing certain people. Maybe one or two came down. Then you saw my boy swim across the harbor, that he actually works with them. He was on one of the ferry tours and the boat was coming back and he jumped off and got over there to help his boy out. And the kid was only 16 years old, so he was ready, you know, for the cause that day. And I think it's so dope, man, that Stephanie Mills is coming down there doing that. More celebrities should do that. We should have a lot of celebrities paying to get these guys out. Stephanie shouldn't even have to do this. You start talking about some of the people that have the means to do that. It should have already been done, in my opinion, to get these people out of jail, man. And what I will say is, in the deep South, right? I'm from North Carolina, and this is a little further down south than that. I went to Huntsville a few years ago, and during my time in Huntsville, I guess, you know, I wasn't there that long, but I didn't experience anything like this. But in Montgomery, man, totally different. You still hear and see about a lot of this. You know, places like Natchez, Mississippi, all that, right? You hear these stories about how the Deep South still has this deep-rooted hatred for black people, and you could definitely see it even here in North Carolina, man. There's a KKK building not far from Ashburn. You got places like Statesville, North Carolina, and you know, all these different cities. The reason I say that is that's where I'm from, but I'm getting to a point. You still hear about these hate crimes being done to people, a group of people, and which happens to be my color, you know, black people, you know, and it's a well-documented history in this country of these types of things happening. And I was so happy to see that situation diffused with the help of people showing that, hey, this ain't gonna be no, y'all ain't about to get that off because you ain't want to move a boat and the guy's doing his job. What you want the guy to do? He obviously spoke with y'all respectfully prior, and you just didn't want to listen to a black man, which is problematic. The man's working. He's just telling you got to move your boat, and you just want to be bad. And, you know, we starting to see some of the images come out with some of the work that was put on these guys' faces. And you have some Caucasian people that are there with you fighting. You know, they don't like to see it either. But you have many of those that's nurtured a certain way to still try to keep that stuff going. And this is taught behavior. They ain't just come out the womb like this. So who taught them to behave that way? That's the point I'm getting at. And we know the answer to that. That's a rhetorical question. We know who taught them to behave that way. It's second nature. See a black man. It's second nature. See a black man, beat a black man. They had absolutely no reason to jump on that guy other than the fact that he was black, and they didn't feel like he was in a position of authority to say anything to them. That's where all that comes from. You know, epithets was thrown around, you know, crazy. And I wish there was audio of what they were saying to him available too, just to hear it, just so, you know, a lot of people say that people are race baiting and they living in the past, and but you start to realize that 120, 140 years ago isn't that far ago. You know what I'm saying? When slavery was, when that, put it like this, that form of slavery was ended in this country, because people were still oppressed to a level where, you know, it still went on even in the 1900s. But people say, oh, you living in the past, this, that, and the third. Man, some people that was around from that time frame, early 90s, you got to think, that's only a few generations removed from people that had slaves. The country has not come that far like people want to believe. Some people only 3-4 generations removed. You know, that's not enough to get rid of something. So when people say, oh man, that was the past, y'all, you know, you got your freedoms now and all that. Well, yeah, it is a little better for sure, but there's still people in positions that have that same mentality, and what they've tried to do is industrialize it a different way, where people, okay, so now, I mean, if you look at it, right, you go home to your house every day and all that, but they still own your time. You look at how a lot of these companies were started, you trace back their lineage to how the money was made for them to even get ahead to start the company. It comes from that time period where your ancestors were slaving under them. They were getting rich off of the backs of your people. And so I would just like to see how many people from back then that were plantation owners and people who were slaves in that plantation, how many of their lineages still work under that name or the people that started X, Y, and Z company to this day. Because wouldn't that still technically be considered the same type of thing? I own your time. You have to behave a certain way on the internet. I can fire you. I can take away your ability to eat, feed your family. If they still have that power, still, to me, a certain level of slavery. That's just how I'm going to look at it, man. You're entitled to feel the way you feel, but I don't even know why I went off this way and took this route. I'm just speaking from the heart, and seeing stuff like that makes me real emotional because, you know, for us, it makes it real uncomfortable for us that are cool on both sides, right? Like we just like good people. Like there's some people of my color, I don't want to be around them. And there's some white people I absolutely love. But it makes them uncomfortable because you got to think they got family members that's on that, that's on that stuff, and this is the people they eat with at Thanksgiving and different times like that, but they ain't necessarily their ideology, but when you jump on their family member, they feel some sort of way. Us, we trying to convey the message that, hey, it's not as nice as you think it is. Yeah, we ain't getting hit with whips and stuff like that, but there's a certain mentality out there still to this day that we have to deal with that's identical to the one that was back then. We just ain't going for it at this point. But yeah, man, I could talk about this all day. I just wanted to show y'all those celebrities reacting to it. I think Stephanie Mills doing her thing is phenomenal, and I could talk about this all day, man, because it's something I'm passionate about. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, peace.